Hello everyone, hope you're doing well. Welcome back to Thinking in Pine short video tutorials. Today let's discuss on some special cases of var type of variables being used in functions. If you're not sure what is var variables in Pine, take a step back and watch our earlier tutorial on var, varip and regular variables. You can find the link to this video in our linked ideas section as well as in the description. The special cases that we are going to cover today in today's session are as follows. First one is using var within a function scope and how it behaves with multiple invocations. Second case which we are going to study today is using the functions containing var variable definitions within a loop. So let's get started, and I have a program ready with me which I'll use in this demonstration. So one of the use case of var variables is that we can use it for keeping track of something, and hence we can use it for keeping a counter. So I've created a function here, increment. What it does is it creates a var variable, initializes with 0, and on every invocation it increases the value by 1. Since it's a var variable, it will not initialize again on every bar. So it will initialize 1 and it will increment multiple number of times. Okay, so now it's pretty simple. So when I do this var 1 is equal to increment, what happens is on a 0th bar, the variable will get initialized with 0 and increments to 1, and on every bar it will increment by 1. So when I apply this indicator to the chart and I'm plotting this variable here, and the outcome is pretty simple. The value of var will be incrementing 1 per each bar. So you can see that, and the value of var is being incremented once per each bar. So it's a pretty straight line. So that's pretty straightforward. Now, let me ask this. What happens when you call the same function twice, right? We know that the var variable is initialized 1 and incremented multiple number of times. So will it happen that on every increment call it will increment once? So the var 1 should have all the even numbers or odd numbers, and var 2 should have all the even numbers, because on a single bar it is incremented twice. So var 1 will start with 1, whereas var 2 will start with 2, and the next bar var 1 will be 3 and var 2 will be 4. So let's see if this is going to happen. I'm going to uncomment this plot of var 2 as well, and when I load this, so it looks like it doesn't happen that way. You can see that counter 1 and counter 2 both are having same values, 26207. Why is that? That's because for every call, every unique call, the function will create its own copy of var. So the var1 is equal to increment has its own value of var I, and var2 is equal to increment has its own value, variable var I, right? So because of this, like there are two variables, those two distinct variables, var variables, which gets incremented. So any number of time you use this, it will create a different copy of var variables. So another way to look at it, you can also do this, like 3. If you do 3 again, it will just print three values with same three variables with same values, right? So all three will have the same values. So you can also visualize the code in this way. So let's forget about this and let's rewrite this. So what happens when a function is called, right? When var1 is equal to increment, what happens is the functions, whatever is there in the function, it gets substituted in line. It happens behind the scene. So ultimately the code is equivalent to something like this. So var1 is equal to I, var I is equal to 0. So here var I1 is equal to 0, because I'm just keeping a counter so that it substitutes multiple number of times. And I1 plus is equal to 1 means it increments I1, and I'm assigning var1 to I1. And similarly, I2 and I3 will have its own copies of the var2 and var3 will have its own copies of var. So the function gets substituted again with a different variable names, and it gets incremented separately, right? So as a result, it's like when you call this function three times, it creates three var variables instead of one. So this program, whatever it is, this code, it's just equivalent code of this, but under the hood it works like this. But using a function will make it simpler and more readable, and also it will it will be reusable. It will make the code inside the function reusable, right? So that's why we get three or any number of increments we do, it keeps a separate counter. Like, it keeps a different set of var variables were defined in the function, and it increments uniquely, and also it increments independent of each other. Okay, so I'll comment this back and put this code back in here. And this is about how var variables in a function work on different invocations. Now let's say we want to see how it works in a loop. So can we, instead of doing multiple increments here, can we just run a loop and assign it multiple times? So let's try that. So here in this code, what I'm trying to do is I'm assigning this value with var1, var2, var3, that we know the value, like what is the value which comes up. And then what we are doing is, for next 3 bars, we are trying to push 3 more values and then in the loop, where its increment is called 3 more times. So according to the same definition, you may think that it will the array should have 6 values. Var1, var2, var3 will all contain same values, which is equivalent to 26207, and 26207. And var 3, 4, 5, the next three values should also be same values, because it's a multiple invocations. It should have the same value. And let's see whether that's going to happen. So for a simplicity, what I'll do, I'll comment this one first. I will not look at the last one, but I will look at the first bar. Like when bar index is equal to 1, I'm going to print this array. So I'm going to print this array in logger. So I'll save this one now, and you can see the logger here. You can see that the value is 2, right? So bar index is equal to 1 is second bar, because the bar index starts with um, 0. So the first bar is actually, the values will be 111 as expected. So now let's uncomment this code and see what the next 3 values which comes up in the loop will be, right? Look at this. These are not 111 anymore. This is 1, 2, and 3, right? So why is this? Again, the logic is similar. What happens when you call a function is it gets replaced with the contents of the function. So let's replace it with the content of the function here. So what happens here is similar to this. So let's say var i4, right? I4 is equal to 0 and I4 plus is equal to 1. And I'll just do array dot push. Okay, so here you can see that there is only one var within the loop, right? Here there are multiple vars. Here there's only one call, so every call is replaced with the code whatever is there in the function. So since there is only one var here, the same var gets implemented every time, right? So it won't create different var for every iteration in the loop. Whenever you call a function, it will only create one iteration, like only one var variable within the function, because it just replaces the function code to whatever is here, right? So because of this, what we see is that the values are incremented, and on every iteration. So the first value will be 1, but the next iteration it will become 2 and 3. Similarly, if you want to check for the fifth var, that is 4, you can see that 5, 5, 5, and incremented by 3 times, like 13, 14, and 15. Right? Hope this is clear. I think that's all for today's session. Hope you enjoyed this, and thanks very much. Bye, everyone.